we will start with the New York Knicks. There was a new report out yesterday from the New York Post mentioning Victor Oladipo as a possibility for the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau says that the team is combing the market for deals. Tibbs was also asked about trading for certain players or what he would like to see in the trade market. He said that's a Leon question, referring to team president Leon Rose. SNY's Ian Begley, friend of the program, is reporting that there has been no real connection with Oladipo other than the possibility that it could happen at some point before the deadline on March 25th. He said that other teams are very skeptical that a Victor Oladipo trade to the Knicks would actually happen. Posadas, I'll go to you first. With the way the Knicks have played this year, with the way things have been going at MSG, if you're in the Knicks position, are you looking at possibly pursuing a trade with the Houston Rockets for Victor Oladipo, who is set to become a free agent at the end of the season?
There it is right there. He's set to be a free agent, Jimmy. So unless I'm only giving back, if you're only giving back a second round pick or maybe a bag of chips, a washer, a dryer combo, you're not going to trade for Victor Oladipo if you're the New York Knicks. We just spoke about this in the previous segment, Galata, talking about the Knicks playing with house money and just building with that and not making any moves hastily. And if you're going to give up a first round pick and one of these young guys for Victor Oladipo, a rental for the second half of the season, you don't know how that's going to play out. He can always leave in free agency. It just doesn't make sense unless you're going to get him for a premium discount where you give a second round pick 3 years from now and it's conditional. Maybe you pull the trigger, but I think for the Houston Rockets especially, I don't think they're going to find a trade partner for Victor Oladipo. If Oladipo wants to play for another team this season, he'll probably have to explore the buyout market. I'm not sure how feasible that is with what he has left and what the Rockets would want to stretch out if they pursue that. But for the Knicks, you're good where you are. Stand pat. Make free agents come to you. If you're going to do a trade for somebody, make it be, like I said, a disgruntled superstar like a Karl Anthony Towns, somebody that you have control of long-term. But Galata, I just can't see why the Knicks would want to pull the trigger on a Victor Oladipo trade when they can just go get him in the summer as a free agent.
I completely agree. And this team, I don't think there's enough motivation to get the deal done because the Knicks, let's face it, even if they added Oladipo, this team's not winning a title. And maybe they're a playoff team, but why then go get him? If you're only going to get, maybe a few more seeds better, maybe you can win a series. But at the end of the day, when you can get him in a few months, you don't have to give up anything. It just makes no sense. And again, you would do any deal for cheap and you'll do any deal at the right price. But I don't see that deal coming. And that's why, look, Oladipo would be a nice addition to the Knicks. He's a guy, a scorer, a guy that in the playoffs, he can finish games. And he's been in that situation before. But I just really don't see the motivation for really either side, but especially the Knicks, because he's a free agent at the end of the year. It doesn't make much sense. This team is good. Just watch them as they are and don't give up any of the young talent or picks. It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't. I'll play a little devil's advocate here. So Oladipo, just to list off some numbers, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Not a great three-point shooter, so that obviously hurts you. I will say that if you can get some kind of assurance from his camp, if you're going to make that trade that you can extend him, then I think it might be worth it. Because if you throw in some of the backup guys, maybe you throw in a young guy, they're not trading Julius Randle. Okay, nope. I don't think that's going to happen. Nobody thinks that's going to happen. But if you can talk to his camp, and I know tampering's not real in the NBA, nobody does that. But nonetheless, if you could somehow, through some back channels or telepathy, figure out with his people, okay, we'll give him 4 or 5 years at or near the max if you get him, I think that changes the calculus. Now, he's going to hit the market over the summer, and the Knicks might pursue him then, and then it's a different situation. And obviously, we know the Knicks are not spending a lot of money right now. They have, I think, the lowest payroll in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So, they'll have cap room. They'll have money to spend. But I think if you can do that, I think that changes things. Otherwise, though, I would wait. And I think this Knicks front office has been smart about things, right? You looked at their free agent class, Elfrid Payton, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, kind of low end guys on 1 or 2 year deals that leaves them a lot of flexibility. Some of those guys have worked out. Some of them haven't. I'm sure there is a subset of Knicks fans who never wants to see Elfrid Payton again. But, it's not about this year, right? Like, as pleasantly surprising as it's been, this is not a team that's sitting there saying, oh, we got to make the playoffs this year. Have to maximize it. No, they're not saying that. And, you guys bring up the house money. They're playing with that. I don't think they're going to make this move, but I think if they have the chance to pick up Victor Oladipo either now and then extend him or over the summer, then I think you do it, because as we've said time and time again on this show and really everywhere else, you need stars in the modern NBA. Victor Oladipo is a star. He would help the Knicks tremendously, but they have to be smart about how they do it.
And when the Knicks opened up all this cap space, their belief was that they were going to try and lure Giannis Antetokounmpo to New York. So when he signs that, that mega extension with the Bucks, I think for the Knicks, that kind of just, threw a wrench in their plans as far as who they wanted to target with all that money. But I also think it makes it easier now, because now the Knicks understand that's the bar. We want a Giannis type of player. If we're going to cash out and we're going to use all of this space, it's going to be for guys like that. Victor Oladipo is a few tiers below. And while he's a very nice piece, again, when you can get him in the summer for nothing and just for money's sake, I think it's worth it, especially for a team like Houston that maybe is going to ask for one of these younger players. Are they going to take Frank Ntilikina? That's not a guarantee. What if they say, hey, we need Emmanuel quickly? And then there's no deal on the table, excuse me. So I think for the Knicks, considering what their expectations was with all of this newfound cap space, I just don't see Victor Oladipo being the guy that they use some of that on.
Yeah, I mean,
right now anyway.
Yeah, no, like exactly. I mean, maybe even if you like, first of all, you can never guarantees like guys are going to sign. I remember, Kyrie's going to sign, KD's going to sign. Well,
yeah.
That blew up in your face, and like they traded KP on basically the insurance of that was going to happen. That blew up in your face, and like that's why I probably wouldn't do it. And like again, as you said, like maybe you want other stars, and like if you're trading for him now, you're locked into him, which is probably something that if you're the Knicks, you don't want to do. It just, I don't know. I just feel like, as I said, the motivation to get a deal done, if you need to give up a Quickly or someone like that, the Knicks they're not in like this win now, we got to win now situation. They can sit back. I mean, even if they don't get the stars next year, if you still have the core, maybe you go another 500 year and you show that, you're now sustained and going to the playoffs, you still have some years to now grow around this core, get some stars. And like, as you said, you have the cap space. So like, just don't make any, bad moves and you'll be okay. Just keep on this straight path, and then at the end of the day you'll have to add some stars. But right now I just feel like you don't want to mess that up to try to go all in this year when, I mean, you're just not in that position right now.
And I think part of why we're having this conversation too is because there's so few high-end free agents out there
exactly
this summer. You've got DeMar DeRozan, that's not a fit with the Knicks. Mike Conley is probably not a fit with the Knicks, with the young up and coming guards you've got. So I think that changes the calculus also, but I just haven't sensed a lot of urgency from the Knicks front office. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, by the way. I think they've been smart about a lot of the things they've done over the past year. Also, just worth mentioning before we move on, there was a TikTok piece in the New York Post this week from Yaron Weitzman about maybe some friction in the Knicks front office. I don't know if I buy it or not, to be honest, but I always find those stories interesting. Thibodeau apparently lashing out at head of strategy Brock Aller, derisively calling him hinky. Personally, I would take that as a compliment if I were Brock Aller, but in any event, the Knicks rolling right along, and we'll see what they wind up doing. If anything, at the trade deadline, we'll also see what position they're in at the trade deadline. I think that'll be very important.